From Gobo to Bobo, puppet nerds like a lot of things, but there's something they love above all else, and that is correcting people. This is a very special Muppets and Puppets episode of Actually. Joining us today, we have Ben Seaman.
Mana.
We have Becky Drysdale.
Hello.
And we have Jordan Dahl.
Hi, everybody. Thank
you all for joining me on this, the weird new technology that we are having to do all entertainment in. This is a bit of an experiment, but, that's the weird hellscape world we live in now.
I'm for it. The transition to pure information was very smooth for me.
It's just pure digital beings now. That's how we live. We're all ones and zeros. You're all Muppet Puppet fans. You've got at least a strong emotional attachment to Muppets and Puppets. Anything do you want to tell our viewers about, oh yeah, here's how I feel about this?
I'm like a C-grade puppeteer in that I've been a puppeteer in a bunch of very low quality things where
you do puppet improv, right?
Yeah, that's true. Puppet improv with Jim Henson has like a puppet improv show, and Dave Kearns and I have done puppet improv before. I also played the wife of a killer turkey in Thanksgiving 3. And my character was immediately murdered in the first 2 minutes of the movie, and that was it.
I am a Muppet and puppet enthusiast. I don't know. I fear that I'm going to be nowhere near as encyclopedic and knowledgeable as the rest of you. But in terms of love and dedication, I dare you.
The emotional values.
The emotional connection. I cannot be beat.
I'm mostly here because I have an odd fascination stemming from a deep fear of puppets.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I love a puppet when it's puppeting around. I love a Muppet when it's muppeting around. But boy, when it's sitting there filled with cold potential, there's something about those little buttons staring at my hands. I know you want them. I know you want them for your own.
It's the weird, uncanny valley, soullessness of a lifeless puppet where, it should be alive, but it's still just sort of
There are a few things as elementally frightening to me as a puppet at rest.
So we're gonna jump into the game. Jordan's played before, but for Ben and Becky, the game is very simple. I have here a stack of statements. These are incorrect, false statements about Muppets and Puppets, and it's up to you to identify the thing that's wrong and correct me. And the only two real rules here are that just like in real life, you can interrupt me whenever you want. You don't need to wait for me to finish the question. If you hear what's wrong, you can just jump right in and say, you're wrong. The second is that you have to proceed your corrections with the phrase, actually, sort of Jeopardy style. If you don't say it, I won't give you the point, and I'll feel very bad about it. So just proceed your corrections with, actually. Here is our first statement. Though he has some avian features like feathers and a romantic relationship with Camilla the chicken, Gonzo is not a bird. Making his original appearance as Snarl the cigar box Fraggle in the Great Santa Claus Switch, Gonzo was later reworked into an unnamed creature of indeterminate origin. Jordan has buzzed in.
Actually, Gonzo has always been a weirdo.
Gonzo is a weirdo. That is maybe close enough to give you a point. Can you be a little bit more specific about Gonzo's origin or named?
I think when you say that he was a creature of unknown origin, I think that he was not. His origin is he's a weirdo from where weirdos come from.
I'll give you the point. There is a more specific answer here, but I'll give you the point unless someone can tell me what the more specific answer is. Yeah, Ben.
Actually, in the movie Muppets from Space, Gonzo is said to have come from space, so he is
That is
alien?
Correct. That is correct. That's what I'm looking for.
I don't consider that canon. I think that's
afterthought.
Retrofit.
It's so funny to me that in a world of Muppets where everyone's got there's so many antenna and just like big forms and stuff. Everyone's just what the fuck is Gonzo's deal? It's come on, man,
right.
Pot kettle black, calm down.
Freedoms is fine, but let's unpack Gonzo.
I'm going to give the point to Ben. Because it is the more specific answer and what is on my card. Though I do appreciate the discussion around this.
Sure.
And look, there's going to be some wacky points throughout. Some of these will be judgment calls, but that first point will go.
I feel like this is going to end with me screaming and storming out.
It may not be a puppet show, but the core cast of Muppet Babies are still characters that were originally Muppets. The show depicts younger versions of Muppets like Animal, Ralph, and Beaker in the care of Nanny. Yes, Ben.
Actually, the show features Skeeter, who was not a Muppet and was created solely because the Muppets lacked strong female characters. So they just made up a sister that didn't exist.
That is correct, but Becky, were you going to say the same thing?
Yes, actually, it's pronounced Rolf.
Damn it! I will always mispronounce everything. That point will go to Ben. That's correct. Skeeter was created just for Muppet Babies and has not. Nor has been yet a Muppet, like a physical Muppet, which is like continuity-wise feels very strange. It's like it feels like it like raises questions like what
happened?
What happened to Skeeter?
What are the physical limitations of making a Skeeter puppet?
I would like to see a Skeeter Muppet, I guess, at some point. It feels like it's like been established and that like people liked Muppet Babies so much that is sort of a beloved character. It's odd that it's just been like relegated to that one specific show and never seen elsewhere.
Actually, she appeared in some comics recently, and that was a big thing. That she was in the comics, which I do not read, but
that's why I'm on this episode. Yeah. Here's our next question, which is about the Dark Crystal. In the Dark Crystal universe, the Skeksis are a race of power-hungry and manipulative bird-like beings who arrived on the planet Thra after being banished from their homeworld during an event called the Great Conjunction. Among those Skeksis trapped on the planet Thra are Skekvar, Skekzok, Skekli, Skek-Ekt, and Skek-Tek. Jordan, you buzzed in.
Actually, Skek-Tek is a technical assistance company started by Skeksis and not the name. You can contact via chat.
Thank you for calling, Skek. What's wrong with your computer?
I hate this. Call me. No, that's not what we're looking for.
Actually, the Skeksis did not arrive from space. They were split from the creatures that existed on the planet when the Dark Crystal cracked. So they never came from another place.
Just
that
like
is
Gonzo.
Just like Gonzo. Another hair-splitting, is it an alien or not, Muppet question.
I would say more importantly, a deep connection between Gonzo and the Skeksis that we just discovered. What's going on there?
Like, maybe an alien, maybe not.
Sure.
Is like you could draw like one of those evolution charts that just shows like Gonzo to Skeksis or Skeksis to Gonzo.
I love that.
I don't know which way. Ben, that you're running away with this. That is the answer we're looking for.
That was a good catch.
All right. Well, our next question is a fan submitted question from Andrew. So here is that question. 2 large memorial services were held for Jim Henson, one in New York and one in London, but both featured a heartfelt rendition of Bein' Green, sung by Kermit the Frog. That is Jordan buzzing it fast, followed by Becky. Jordan.
Actually, it was Rainbow Connection.
Incorrect.
Actually, Bein' Green was sung by the entire cast of the Muppets and Sesame Street.
Ooh, you are extremely close. In fact, you've found exactly what's wrong. So I will give you the point unless Jordan can tell me specifically what, because he just buzzed in, unless Jordan can tell me specifically what the answer is.
Now, I can tell from the context surrounding your excitement about Rebecca's answer that my answer is not correct.
Okay. Becky, I'll go ahead and give you the point there because you're able to identify what was wrong, even if we don't have specifically what was right. Kermit the Frog didn't sing Bein' Green in both memorial services. Big Bird or Carol Spinney sang.
Oh my God, that was
which
answer.
is
I'm so dumb.
Well, I'll take it because I feel like it's been hard for me during this game, and I feel like I'll take it.
All right, well, we'll move on to our next question, and this is a shiny question. We have 3 of these in a game. These questions are worth the same number of points. They're just a little bit different and a little bit rarer. So this is a game called What's Wrong with This Picture? So in just a second, we're going to load up an image, and we have altered this image to make something wrong with it. The first person who can identify what is wrong with the image will get the point. For these shiny questions, you don't have to say actually, because they're not technically corrections. But if you want to stay in the habit so you don't accidentally not say it later, that's also totally fine.
So stick with what I haven't been doing thus far anyway.
Stay the course.
That's right.
Having a buzzer and questions and a format, I can't do all 3 at the same time.
It's too many
So I'm
things.
not a puppeteer.
If everyone's ready, we're going to turn to that image right now. Ben has buzzed in.
Dr. Bunsen Honeydew does not have eyes under his glasses?
That's correct. Yeah.
That is correct.
Let's go ahead and take a look at what it should look like, which looks infinitely more terrifying once you see the version with eyes. But yeah, that point goes to Ben. Bunsen Honeydew doesn't have eyes. His glasses are his eyes.
I don't know why. I was like, I first immediately decided that their ties were wrong, and I was like, what tie does Beaker usually wear? I don't know why that's where my brain went.
You get used to seeing Bunsen Honeydew without eyes, and you're like, okay, that's
Totally.
that. And like the moment you see him with eyes, it's like, well, surely that's how it should be. It would be a terrifying Pan's Labyrinth type creature to have like.
Sure.
Maybe Bunsen
I
Honeydew
love
has
it. I
eyes
think
in
it's
his hands.
brilliant.
I think Bunsen and Beaker are the source of a lot of my puppet fear.
Mm.
Really,
Yeah.
Bunsen and Beaker are, I think, 2 of my favorites.
You know, Beaker specifically, his flesh-toned skin makes me think that he was once a man.
Kind of like a Reek situation with Game of Thrones. He used to have a name and speak beautifully, and then he just destroyed him, and now it's like all you'll say is meep.
Yeah, he was like a beautiful like ballet dancer or something.
Every meep is like a please help me.
I'm trapped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, very good, Beaker.
And then there's like that amazing episode where you go back in time and you realize what happened to Beaker, and it catches up with real time of him saying meep, 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 meep.
It's
Yeah.
during the big
And it's
lore
like
episode.
mind-boggling.
Yeah.
The
Totally.
last shot is like it like zooms into
Going, meep,
the
meep.
iris
Yeah.
as he beeps.
Oh,
For-
great. Yeah, is help me become meep, just like Hordor was
exactly.
the door. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
Help
actually,
me, help me, help me, me.
yeah,
This is
I
like
think we wrote the next Muppet movie.
the birthplace of the worst ideas ever.
Okay, quick recap here. Ben, you have 4 points. Becky, you have 1. Jordan, nothing yet, but there's still plenty of game left to
Just
go.
happy to be here, Mike.
We're happy to have you here. Talking puppets with friends. All right, well, here's our next one. While some characters on Sesame Street were instant hits, others were cut from the program entirely. These include Don Music, who encouraged kids to bang their heads on pianos, Brett Scallions, an anthropomorphic onion who made people cry, Bruno the Trash Man, a silent garbage man who moved Oscar the Grouch around, and Roosevelt Franklin, who was cut for being potentially offensive to African Americans. Ben, you're buzzing in.
Actually, I would venture to guess that this Scallions character that you're talking about did not exist, because I have no recollection of a Scallion that makes people cry, but I do have recollection of all those other characters.
That is correct. Brett Scallions is not a Muppet. He is the leading vocalist of the post-grunge band Fuel. The rest of these are all real, including, as we talked about, Franklin, Roosevelt Franklin, who inspired on Arrested Development. Joe Blue's puppet Franklin was sort of the inspiration for that.
The
Is that an album?
The Roosevelt Franklin album on vinyl.
Oh.
But you were like, because it's offensive to African Americans, and I was like, oh my god, I have that album. Am I? I'm the problem.
Salt, you have a
Yeah, I just because we might get dinged on this with Twitter corrections. The Roosevelt Franklin did reappear in 2019 for the show's 50th anniversary. In case somebody dings us for that, I wanted us to put it out there. That's all.
And he wasn't totally cut.
He wasn't totally cut, exactly.
So many.
He's still doing something on Sesame Street. He's just not around. I don't know if that's better.
There's a picture of him with Paul Scheer on the wiki. I don't know.
Well, fantastic. We will move on to our next question here. From the very beginning, Fraggle Rock was produced with a goal toward international distribution. The segments of the show with human actors were produced separately in different countries to make different region-specific versions of the show. Originally a co-production of TNT in the US, TBS in Britain, and the Canadian Broadcasting Company, Fraggle Rock was eventually broadcast in over 95... Yes, Jordan?
Actually, it was BBC in Britain?
It was not. Originally a co-production of TNT in the US, TBS in Britain, and the Canadian Broadcasting Company, Fraggle Rock was eventually broadcast in over 95 countries, and in 1989 became the first US TV show to air in the Soviet Union.
Oh.
Becky.
Actually, TNT was not a thing at that time.
That is, you know what? You found what's wrong here. TNT was not the U.S. sponsor of Fraggle Rock. So I'll give you the point. Unless, can you tell me who was and lock it in?
It wasn't PBS?
It was not PBS.
Penthouse.
Incorrect. That point will go to Becky for identifying that. Fraggle Rock was originally produced by HBO. And in fact, that makes Fraggle Rock the first piece of HBO original programming, which also means that Bill Maher was not the first sentient trash heap to appear on HBO.
Bird! Get him, dragon.
That's a very Bill Maher-like joke that you use to make Bill Maher.
I love it.
And I glance around the audience to be like, yeah, right, pretty good, huh?
I lived in France when Fraggle Rock was on. I saw it in French, so I thought the Fraggles were French, like that on purpose.
Right.
And I also had a book called What Do Doozers Do? And so I thought the Doozers were the leads of the show and the Fraggles were like the secondary characters.
That's
and it was
so
like
fun.
a lifetime of me being like, like my adult self correcting my younger self.
Sure.
And
Everything I know about Fraggles is wrong.
that's really what happened. And because I thought I was a kid, so I thought it was like a French show that was being turned into an American show and not the other way around.
Sure. Did you find it strange that all of the French Fraggles were smoking?
I was smoking at the time, so it felt totally normal.
Today's video is sponsored by Bright Cellars. If you've ever been in the wine aisle, totally overwhelmed, picked something at random, and wound up with something that you hated, you're not alone. Finding the perfect wine match can be intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. That's where Bright Cellars comes in. Bright Cellars uses a wine algorithm to match you with wines you're guaranteed to love. All you have to do is take their 30-second quiz, and they'll match you with wines based on things you already know you like your favorite type of chocolate or your favorite type of juice. Then Bright Cellars ships your matches directly to your doorstep for you to enjoy. Finding the perfect wine has never been easier. Bright Cellars sent me a box of wine, and honestly, I planned my whole menu around it. I was like, oh, this one looks good, I'll do a little lasagna with that. Every wine comes with its own education card with information about the region it's from, tasting notes, food pairings, serving temperatures. You can also switch up the number of reds, whites, and rosés, or if you're a seasonal wine drinker, just skip an order. And the best part is, if you don't like a bottle of wine that you got, Bright Cellars offers you a delight guarantee, and they'll send you a replacement bottle in your next order. To help you find your new favorite wine, we're giving you 50% off your first 6-bottle box when you go to brightcellars.com/actually. Head to brightcellars.com/actually to receive 50% off your first 6-bottle order. Bright Cellars, helping you discover wine you'll love.
All right, here's our next one. British sci-fi super marionation series Thunderbirds follows the Tracy family, who conduct international rescue missions using high-tech vehicles like Thunderbird 1, a hypersonic rocket plane, and Fireball XL5, a spacecraft. When not on missions, the Tracy family lives on Tracy Island with Grandma Tracy, an engineer named Brains, and his assistant, Tintin. Ben looks very suspicious.
I know nothing about the Thundercats, but I would say
Thunderbirds.
actually
Thunderbird.
Cancel him. Pull the question.
Get out. I'm booting you from the chat.
Suspicious of Tintin as the name of the assistant. I know that Tintin's a very established character in like comics and stuff, so I'm suspicious of that name. I would say that his name was not Tintin.
You are rightly suspicious, but there is actually just a different character named Tintin who is the assistant there on Tracy Island. Jordan, you had also buzzed in. Do you have an answer here?
Actually, Fireball was not a spacecraft.
That, heartbreakingly, is what you've said is not the answer, but you have identified what's wrong. Jordan, you're so close. I'm just going to give this to you.
Well, if somebody else has got it, hey, I don't want these pity points.
No, take the pity points. It feels good.
Thank you.
They do have a space shuttle in addition to their space station, which is not called Fireball XL5. It is perhaps logically called Thunderbird 3. All their crafts are just Thunderbird 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sure. Fireball XL5 is a completely different super marionation show that is about a space shuttle, so it does exist. It's just not a Thunderbird thing.
They made a movie called Thunderbird 6 where it was a blimp. It was like a proposed like Zeppelin, because Zeppelins were hot at the time.
That sounds like a backward step.
Right? We've got a supersonic jet, Thunderbirds, but what if we need to fly slowly?
Yes.
That's when they have like another kid and they're like, oh shit, we gotta build something for this kid to fly around in.
Yeah. What if we need to turn around and have it take an hour?
I learned in my research doing this that there were some issues in trying to like franchise out Thunderbirds, because every puppet is smoking like all the time, and with new updated like TV standards, it was like, we can't show all these characters smoking, and like, could you like digitally remove these cigarettes? And the creators were like, hard pass.
And like all the characters are just going like this for no reason.
Yeah. Just blowing kisses to everyone.
Yeah. They just have like they're just holding like a flower and doing this.
Hysterical. Listen, does Brains have to have an opium addiction?
Yes, God damn it! This is the vision for our show. Well, cool. That point will go to Jordan, and this will bring us to our second shiny question. This is going to be an audio question.
Oh.
This is a game we call Legal Limit. So
I get it.
We are going to play what we think we can legally get away with playing from songs from Puppet and Muppet shows, which is going to be about 1 second, maybe. We have 6 different tracks here of very short snippets of songs. These are songs from Puppet and Muppet shows. And we're going to ask you to see if you can identify it. And the way this will work, even though there's going to be 6 things, whoever can identify the most of the 6 will get the 1 point for this question. Let's go ahead and play that first track. Jordan.
That is a song from Labyrinth. Chilly Down with the Fireys or something?
That's a really good guess, but that is
very, very good guess.
Oh, Ben, you have a guess.
Is that Cabin Fever from Muppet Treasure Island?
That is Cabin Fever from Muppet Treasure Island.
See, this is out of my that's out of my canon.
That movie's okay, but I had a friend that bought the tape cassette to that soundtrack, and then their stereo broke, and it could only play Muppet Treasure Island. And she would give me rides all the time, so
That's so funny.
So that's burned into your brain.
It's burned into my brain with a lot of trauma.
Let's play track number 2.
We can show you a good time.
I hope Jordan gets this, though.
Now that is Chilly Down with the Fire.
That is Chilly Down the Fires from Labyrinth. Yes, you were just 1 question too early.
Arguably the worst song in Labyrinth.
Should get an extra point for time travel?
Yeah. for being psychic. All right, let's hear track number 3. Jordan.
Actually, that is the Fraggle Rock theme.
That is Fraggle Rock. Just those first initial, that funky bass. Getting you ready.
Funky bass, baby.
Let's hear track number 4.
Cuba Gooding needed a bigger heart.
Jordan.
Actually, that's from Team America World Police.
That's correct. I did sneak that in there. Do you know what song that is?
I miss you more than Michael, miss the mark.
We don't have the legal rights for this, but that is correct. That is.
Did I hear the word Cuba Gooding in there?
Yes, you did. That was the song "Pearl Harbor Sucked" and "I Miss You."
When he made Pearl.
Got it.
Let's play. I think we're on track number 5 now.
Wanna see me make a rocket? Watch me put a tail in a socket.
Ben.
Sadly, I know this. Actually, that's "I'm the Baby, Gotta Love Me" from Dinosaurs.
Oh, no.
That is "I'm the
Wow.
Baby, Gotta Love Me" from the show Dinosaurs.
The Bartman of dinosaur-based song.
Wow. I'm realizing this game show is making me realize that my knowledge and expertise about Muppet things is like a very specific, like 2 years.
Yeah. The best years.
and really just like Sesame Street and the Muppet Show.
To be fair, it's probably an okay thing that you don't know "I'm the Baby, Gotta Love Me" very
you don't-
that I feel totally comfortable
You
with.
don't remember the dinosaur baby that instructed us to love it in the 90s?
You know what? I may have not gotten that show because I lived in Canada, although that doesn't make sense either. Maybe I didn't care. Maybe I was scared.
We have one more track to play here. So far, Jordan's got 3, Ben's got 2. So we'll see. Becky can either play the spoiler. This could be a tie, or Jordan can clinch it.
I'm going to buzz in before I hear it. Yes.
I need this, Becky.
Let's hear this last track.
No Jesus for us, me sis.
That is Jordan just a half second ahead
way.
of Becky.
How?
Ladies and gentlemen, that is from my favorite Muppet movie.
That
That is the
is
Muppet Christmas
insane.
Carol.
I can't believe you got that before me.
It was so close. It was like right on top of each other. That is a Muppet
Right.
Christmas Carol, Jordan.
And I believe that is the Scrooge song.
The Scrooge song, correct.
Okay, so our score right now is looking like Ben with 5, Jordan and Becky each with 2 points, and we'll move along with our game here. Remember Alf? He's back in question form. One of the strangest pieces of Alf merchandising was the Many Faces of Alf campaign with Burger King. 4 different Alf puppets were available and accompanied by small records that played original Alf-specific songs, including Melmac the Knife, Cookin' with Alf, Melmac Girls, and Take Me, Alf, to the Ball Game.
Parentheses, Alf.
Take me, comma, Alf, comma, to the ball game.
So good.
Jordan, yeah, you're buzzing in.
Actually, Mel Mac the Knife is just too funny to be real. Alf would never crack me up that much.
You're correct. I made up Melmac the Knife. That is the correct answer there. The other ones are all real, including Take Me, Alf, to the Ball Game, which I have to admit has made me laugh every time I read it.
They're like, we worked so hard on Melmac Girls. We have 1 hour left for this baseball thing.
Girls took the whole budget. Melmac Girls wiped us out. He wanted to do a live photo album shoot, the whole thing.
Because Brian Wilson was like,
I gotta see my kids.
Brian Wilson was
just replaced
like, the harmonies aren't right. We got to do this again.
Oh boy.
Everyone's peeing in jars.
Well, cool. That point will go to Jordan.
Yes.
Here's our next question.
I'm just losing.
I've changed my opinion on having 2 points. I'm against it.
I like 3.
No,
3 is the number for
terrible.
me.
Terrible.
Muppet eyes are perhaps the most important feature of their design. While some have completely stationary eyes, relying on whole Muppet movement to convey expressions, others, like Big Bird, Miss Piggy, and Gonzo, have movable lids, while still others have moving pupils, like Sam the Eagle and Cookie Monster. Becky.
Sam the Eagle and Cookie Monster do not have moving pupils.
They do have movable pupils, actually. Sam the Eagle can look back and forth. And
I disagree.
Google it. Well, you got me there. Damn.
Actually, I would say Miss Piggy does not have eyelids that flap closed.
That is true.
That is correct. Not have eyelids that flap closed. But there have been people who have been like convinced that they've seen Miss Piggy like fluttering her eyelids at Kermit And it's just good puppetry, just the ability to
that's just expert puppeteering.
This is our last shiny question and our second to last question of the game.
I'm embarrassed, guys. I gotta say.
Hey, we still got 2 more questions left, and that's they're not that far. I mean, Ben's kind of running away with it, but certainly catch up with Jordan. You're not that far behind. This is a game called Name That Muppet. Similar to the playing the audio tracks, we're going to show images of Muppets. It'll be up to you to buzz in and name them. Whoever can identify the most Muppets will get the 1 point. And I'll tell you there are 9 Muppets to identify here.
Oh.
So you might be able to move pretty quickly through this. Let's look at that first Muppet.
Oh, crap.
Jordan.
Actually, that's Papa Bear.
It's not Papa Bear, but I see it's a good guess, but no.
I know of the bear. I do not know his name.
I'm familiar with the works of the bear, but the name is at the moment.
His work really overpowers his identity as an individual bear.
We'll say no one got that one. That's Bobo Bear.
Bobo.
Let's take a look at the next one.
Oh.
Nobody saw that one.
That's true. No one did see this one. You've all correctly immediately gone like, that ain't Kermit. I was hoping we had someone there, but yes, Jordan, you buzzed in.
Actually, this is the evil international criminal and mastermind from Muppets at Large, I believe, whose name I cannot recall, but I think is something like Christoph Vander Jules.
You're not far, but that's not correct.
Yeah.
Anyone have any guesses? Pulling anything out of the subconscious?
It's a Russian name, like Vlad or something like that. I have no idea.
Alexei.
Very good. No, you're both like, it's clearly like it's in your brains. I'll say no points for that one because we've got plenty of Muppets to go through. This is Constantine. So you had sort of like thing. Let's take a look at the next one. That is Jordan and then Ben close behind.
Yeah.
Actually, I believe that's Emmett Otter.
That is Emmett. That is Emmett Otter. That
sure is
Jordan. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Oh, that is Jordan, and so close behind is Becky. It's like almost instantaneous.
Actually, that's my man, New Zealand.
That is New Zealand. Let's take a look at that next Muppet. That is Ben, followed by Becky.
That is Pepe the Prawn.
That is Pepe the Prawn. Let's take a look at that next Muppet. That is Becky, followed by Jordan.
Is that not Robin?
That is Robin.
Okay.
That is Robin.
I believe that's a picture of Charlie Day.
We currently have 2 for Jordan, 1 for Ben, 1 for Becky. Let's take a look at the next Muppet. Becky is first to buzz in there.
This is Chris Farley and David Spade. This is Waldorf and Statler.
That is correct.
Switching the naming convention or a power move.
Am I?
I call them Statler and Waldorf.
Oh, I've always called them Waldorf and Statler.
Really?
But
that's how you know you're
because I was reading them in Hebrew.
I love the idea of Statler and Waldorf having a Jewish community email that they send out every month.
the Waldorf and Statler.
Let's look at that next Muppet. That is Becky, and Jordan close behind.
That is Sweetums.
That is Sweetums.
Oh, that's my girl Sweetums. She's one of my favorites.
Sweetums actually makes me cry sometimes.
I love Sweetums.
When they leave Sweetums behind in the Muppet movie, I'm like,
right.
There's nothing I can do to stop it.
Do you remember the episode of the Muppet Show where they give her a makeover?
Yes.
It's wonderful.
Let's go to our next Muppet. Oh, that is Becky immediately, then everyone else close behind. Becky, who's that?
That's Telly.
That is Telly. That is Telly. And another one. So Becky's coming in. Let's see. That is currently 4 identified by Becky, 1 by Ben, 2 by Jordan. So that point is going to go to Becky for identifying 4 of these 9 Muppets. Ben got 1, Jordan got 2, and 2 were unidentified.
I'm sick over that Telly one. I have such Telly energy.
Have you seen, like, the original Telly had, like, television antennas coming out of his head and, like, was very disturbing. And then he turned into a nice character.
Well, it was supposed
There
to be
is-
like a Cookie Monster type monster, but where he was like addicted to television instead
There
of
is-
cookies. So,
Instead, they were just like, let's make him afraid of everything.
yeah. Our score going into the last question here is Ben a runaway with 6 and 3 each for Becky and Jordan.
This is for second place.
This is for second place, unless Ben just fucking continue. It just stomps. but then you both have second
No,
place.
this is for 50 points. Let's make this one.
Yeah, it's golden snitch rules. Like this is just it's all here. Our last question, as always, concerns real life skills. So nothing to do with Muppets and Puppets. Just think like after you've gotten that, you've got your expertise here. Let's talk about something from the real world. You're no puppet. No one makes your decisions unless you want them to. Power of attorney is a document that allows someone else to manage your property, financial, or medical affairs. In order to appoint a power of attorney, you must sign and notarize official documentation that appoints an agent who is of sound mind and at least 21 years old. Agents may then sell property, manage real estate, collect debt, and handle business transactions. Becky.
I don't think they can buy property.
They can, actually.
Well,
Yeah.
they shouldn't, you know?
They should. Don't do that. I didn't approve that. Jordan.
Actually, you only need to be 18 to have power of attorney.
That's correct. You
Whoa!
have to be 18 to for power of attorney. So you can make that little shithead 18-year-old, totally in control of all your debt and business affairs and property.
Sure.
That's how that works.
Shot in the dark.
Total
I'm gonna
shot in the dark.
own it.
Well, I'm glad I don't know the kid stuff or the adult stuff. I'm a useless.
Fucking nailing it.
Yeah.
I only know this because I have an 18-year-old attorney.
Yeah.
We meet once. We
Giant
meet,
suit.
we meet 2 times a month in Fortnite.
Yeah.
You can't meet at a bar. I'm not allowed in there.
Jordan's attorney is a character from a 90s life-switching movie. A wish
I
gone
thought being adult
wrong.
would be easy.
Yeah.
Ice cream for dinner, but now I gotta handle debt.
Ever since I found this amulet.
Yeah, some like mystical drug judge
Yeah.
pounded a gavel and was like, "I sentence you to be your dad for a year."
Yeah. If that's what you want.
The amulet has the power of attorney. It's like, my God, the mystical power of attorney. Shining and lightning everywhere.
Summon the 6 justices.
The power of attorney.
Well, that is the end of our game. Final score, Ben with 6, Jordan with 4, Becky with 3. A fine string of all. I loved talking puppets with all of you. This was a fun time.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I want to do more of these with other nerdy things. Every
Four-time
game needs a
loser right
loser.
here.
Oh, see, I took your
Yeah.
loser mantle. I will take it.
Although I think you have a pretty good streak of being second place.
Yeah, I'm not too bad at that second place. Born to runner up, right?
That is it for our game. Thank you so much for joining us. Come back next time for even more pedantic corrections here on Actually.
Bye. Thank you.